Passport Mommy with Michelle Jerson. Motherhood is both amazing and difficult at the same time. The Passport Mommy, Michelle Jerson, is here to share in your journey.
It's amazing. It really is, just watching them grow and see how much change and how much they learn just without the filters around them.
Joining you on your greatest adventure, here's Michelle Jerson, the Passport Mommy.
Welcome to the show. I'm Michelle Jerson. So as a mom of a 2.5-year-old and a 4-month-old, I'm already worried about how they are so exposed digitally to so much. And I cannot believe at 2.5 years old how much my daughter wants my phone all the time, wants to scroll through YouTube, wants to look at all of the videos. And I try to stop it. And I try to say, not now. Or I try to say, if we want to watch something, maybe we'll watch it on TV later. And I can't believe I'm even saying that, as though watching TV is so much better on the phone. But we really are concerned nowadays with what is going on in the digital world if you're raising children. And for that, I have with me today Collin Robinson. He serves as a member of the National PTA Board of Directors and is chair of the Bylaws Committee and works as a freelance web developer. And as a longtime PTA member and leader with professional experience in the digital space, he was named PTA Connected Ambassador in 2018. Hi, Collin. Thanks so much for joining me.
Hi, Michelle. Thanks for having me.
Sure. So tell me a little bit what PTA Connected is.
So one of the things we know, and I'm sure you're understanding this now, is that parenting in a digital age has become increasingly complex. And children today, they're getting online earlier and earlier. And what we're hearing is that, 3 out of 4 parents say that they are worried about their kids' online safety and they want more control of that, which is where the PTA Connected kind of space comes in, because what we're trying to do is we're trying to get kind of evidence-backed resources into the hands of parents so that they can understand how they can help their kids lead a positive online life.
Right, which is so important, because when you say a positive online life, what are we trying to avoid and what are we trying to instill in these children?
Well, so I'll start with kind of what we're trying to instill, right? And I think you might understand this. Is when I was growing up, it was all about citizenship. And what it meant to be a good friend and how to speak to one another. And now that term citizenship is turning into digital citizenship. But the reality is those two things are the same. And how we lead a positive life is also how we should be leading a positive online life. And the profiles that we create and the comments we make online have an actual effect to people in the real world. What we're trying to get our kids to understand is that they're gonna see things online. They're gonna read comments online, and they're gonna have real feelings about those, and that's okay. And what we're hoping through the PTA Connected programs is that parents can start to have an open and honest dialogue with their kids, so that when the kids do see something, they know that they have a positive adult role model, hopefully a parent, but it could be somebody else that they can go and talk to about what they've seen or heard.
Right, exactly. And it is so important to instill what gets posted online and to instill at an early age that, hey, whatever you post could be there for a very, very long time and could affect your professional career moving forward and even just socially, as you grow up.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, I mean, once something's online, even if you take it down, chances are somebody's already taken a screenshot of it and it can live on for forever.
Right, exactly. So how many communities in our area are hosting these events with the Digital Families Program, and what can attendees expect from them?
Yeah, so we've been really lucky to partner with Facebook for our Digital Communities Family events. And so that's 200 communities across the country. And what parents can expect is, a lot of these schools are bringing in kind of third-party experts to help facilitate. And so parents are coming in with their kids, and they're going through different modules to learn about things like bullying prevention, digital literacy, news literacy, online safety, and hopefully parents are leaving with almost like a toolkit that these events are really just the beginning of the conversation and not the end. And it allows them to go home and continue these conversations and what it looks like, and really fosters that open dialogue between parents and their kids.
Right, exactly. And what advice do you have for parents who want to start these important conversations? I mean, I feel like we're having the birds and the bees talk, but we're talking about everything in the digital age. How do you broach this topic?
Actually, it's so funny you talk about the birds and the bees, because that's something we've heard time and time again. When I talk to my parents about the tough conversations that they had with me, they talk about the birds and the bees. And when I talk to parents now, they're like, I'd rather have the birds and the bees talk with my kids as opposed to this digital conversation that I have to have with my kids. And
right.
I think the issue for a lot of parents right now is they don't feel like they're the expert. And so I know with my own kids and what we're trying to do with these programs is ask those leading questions to get an idea of, what do you think is important about this app you want to use and download? What kind of accounts do you want to follow when you get onto this app? And then sitting back and really listening to your child and getting an idea of why it's important to them. Actually going through the app itself and saying, can you show me how to use this? And then as parents asking those questions that we have, like, what are the privacy settings? Are you sharing your location?
Right.
And what do those look like? And see if the child can then look through the app, go into the settings, show you what those look like, because then we feel confident that our kids are on an app that takes their privacy as a really important thing.
Right. And I think that's an excellent way to do that, because if you make it like you're involved and you're truly interested in what they're doing, I think they'll be more engaged and more open to showing you, hey, look, Mom, look, Dad, this is what it does. So how did this partnership with Facebook come to be?
So I think we've been at National PTA, we've been in this digital space for a little bit over 5 years now. Mm-hmm. And we know that Facebook is kind of they are one of the leaders, if not the leader, in the online space. And
right.
And what we wanted to take kind of what the work that they have done in online safety and use it to empower parents to address those tech-related challenges that are facing our kids. They had the information, we have the delivery system into the schools, and this was really a best way for the two of us to work together to make sure that parents felt empowered in the decisions they're making in their kids' lives.
Right. It's so smart. I love it. And so what schools and what types of events are you doing within the schools? How can people find more information and maybe get something like this into their school?
Oh, absolutely. So to learn all about the digital kind of family programs that we're running, anyone can go to pta.org/digitalfamilies, and they can see the work we're doing with Facebook and all of our other partners in the PTA Connected program.
Terrific. So just on a personal note, you said you have children. How has it been going with trying to instill in them limitations and trying to find exactly what they're doing online and with their apps?
So now my daughter is 18. She's going into college, so it's very different, the conversations I have with her, than the conversations I have with my 14-year-old son.
Right.
Even when they first got phones, the conversations were very different. And I felt like as a parent, you kind of learn a lot with the first one, and then you hone in those skills on the second one.
Sure.
I'm not a fan of Big Brother style software, so I'm not going to put something on their phone that tracks what they're doing, because I know that we've had the conversations early and often, and we continue to have them. And, as my daughter went from, a 13-year-old with a phone and a Facebook account or an Instagram account or any other kind of app-related account that they were after, I knew that she could come to me and I wouldn't have a knee-jerk reaction. That was one of the promises I made to both of my kids, is that if they ran into something online that they were uncomfortable with, that they could come to me and I would listen with an open and objective heart and mind. And because I know when a child comes to a parent and says, I have this problem, sometimes we have knee-jerk reactions.
Yes.
At which point, that might be the last time your child might want to come to you with that because of the way that we reacted. I also know something important for my kids that I'm trying to do every day is, as a parent, I'm trying to model the appropriate behavior that I want them to have online. And that, that's as simple as putting my phone down at times. We have no device time, or, not at the kitchen table. And when I'm with them, I make sure that I'm very present. And if I do have to use my phone, I let them know what I'm doing, just like I expect them to let me know what they're doing.
I love it. And that is so true. And I even find myself doing that with my daughter, saying, okay, put your phone down, Michelle. Even when you want to just check that email, don't let her see that you're constantly on your phone, because I don't want her going and doing the same thing when she gets older, or just even now grabbing the phone whenever she wants to. So again, tell everybody where they can go for more information.
Yeah, for more information, anyone can go to pta.org/digitalfamilies.
Terrific. Thank you so much, Collin Robinson, for joining me today. I'm Michelle Jerson, the Passport Mommy.
Motherhood is a journey. Joining you on your greatest adventure, here's Michelle Jerson, the Passport Mommy.
Welcome back to the show. I'm very happy to have with me Ray Kerins. He is the Senior Vice President, Corporate Affairs for Bear, and he is very involved in a project that's been going on since 2009, which involves my favorite country music star, Luke Bryan. Thank you so much for joining me today, Ray.
Michelle, it's my pleasure, and I'm glad he's a country favorite, because he's become mine as well. I mean, I like a lot of great country singers, but Luke he's as genuine and as good as you can find.
Yeah, he seems it. And, I don't know, but his good looks don't hurt either, as far as I'm concerned. But he is he is a great representative for the camp. I mean, well, basically, he started this annual farm tour in 2009 because he is the son of a peanut farmer from Georgia. So tell me a little bit about what he's doing, how you're involved.
So you're right. Luke grew up on a farm down in Georgia. His parents still own and run that family farm. And he began the farm tour, as you indicated, 10 years ago because he wanted to bring some music into the rural communities. Oftentimes these big country singers and big even rock stars, they tend to go to areas where there's large populations. Well, in this case, the goal here was to bring it into the farm communities where, Luke grew up on, and a lot of us grew up in small towns. And so the farm tour started, and 5 years later, Bear, we signed on as the title sponsor. And, we've been going gangbusters ever since on programs such as what he wanted to do with the farm tour, which is focus on the American farmer.
Yeah, which is so important because I don't think people realize, but 83% of the food we eat in America is grown by U.S. farmers and ranchers.
No, you're exactly right about that. And, when you look and realize the American farmers are the hardest working people out there. I mean, they're up early. They work through all rain and drought and all these crazy elements that sort of force them in. But, our challenge, and one of the things that we're trying to do with the farm tour, is celebrate the American farmer. But, let's look and see what they do. What's their main job? Feeding America and feeding the world. Challenge we have in America, as you probably know, is food insecurity. There's 1 in 5 Americans do not know where the next meal is going to come from. And that's why we started the Here's to the Farmer campaign. And we're asking all Americans, all of your listeners out there, Hashtag Here's to the Farmer, one word, on any social digital channel, and Bear will donate a meal to a hungry American through Feeding America.
I love it. And especially now around this time of year, this is when people start going apple picking and vegetable picking. And I think you start realizing just how much work goes into maintaining a farm, being a farmer. And we're so thankful for where all of our food comes from. I know now when I'm in the grocery store and I look at the packaging, and I was just in Trader Joe's yesterday and it said, these are from local farmers in the Northeast. And I thought, how wonderful. I really enjoyed seeing that on the package, just as a reminder as to how much work these farmers do.
You're absolutely right about that. You know, all the farms that Luke's going to be performing on and that we're sponsoring here, all the farms are family-run farms. They've been in generations of members of the family all working together on it. We've done a couple of mini documentaries on a couple of the farmers. You can find it on like Instagram and some of our other channels, and you can actually see firsthand what these farmers do day in and day out, and you see the generations living on a farm, sometimes 2 and 3, and they're so dedicated to their craft of growing safe, nutritious food for all of us. So for Bayer, as a big agriculture company, we just, we're excited about the opportunity, and we're excited to give back to others, right? Because, again, this concept of not knowing where your food's going to come from, that's a scary thing. No kid, no child, no person should have to feel that way. And if 1 in 5 Americans feel that, we got to change that. And how do we change it? Through great partnerships like Bayer and Luke Bryan and other groups that we're working with throughout the farm tour each year.
Yeah, absolutely. So where are the stops on the farm tour this year?
Well, we're real excited that we're actually this year heading more towards the Midwest. Last 2 years or so, we had a few stops down in the Southeast, and now we're heading off to our first stop will be coming up next week in Marshall, Wisconsin. Then we'll head off to Michigan, followed by Ohio, a couple of stops in Kansas, and then we'll end the farm tour, because it's only a 2-week period each year. We'll end the farm tour October 5th in Norman, Oklahoma. And as I said, each of these farm stops, each morning you walk onto them at 7 o'clock in the morning, and it's a cow pasture or it was a cornfield, or it was part of the farm. And man, 10 hours later, you got 20,000 of your closest friends hanging out on the field and, enjoying some great music.
Yeah, amazing. And for more information, people can go to herestothefarmer.com. And real quickly, just tell me how many meals were donated last year and what are we aiming for this year?
Well, in year 1, which is 5 years ago, our goal was 300,000 meals. This past year, we moved it up to 1 million, because obviously there's a greater need for it. And so the goal this year, again, is 1 million meals. And so the way we get there is hashtag Here's to the Farmer. Please, I encourage everyone to take part in it. Every time you do so, we will donate a meal to a hungry American.
I love it. Thank you so much, Ray Kerins, the Senior VP of Bayer. I look forward to seeing all the hashtags and everybody's posts. Here's to the Farmer. And for more information, again, you can go to herestothefarmer.com. Don't forget, you can always follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. It's at Passport Mommy. And if there's anything you'd like to hear on the show, you could drop me a line, Michelle@passportmommy.com, because we are all in this together. Moms, dads, I want to hear what you're going through right now as your kids are going back to school. I'm Michelle Jerson, the Passport Mommy. More coming up in a few. We're going to talk with my good friend Marshall Stevenson all about some wonderful toddler topics.
Passport Mommy with Michelle Jerson. Motherhood is a journey. Joining you on your greatest adventure, here's Michelle Jerson, the Passport Mommy.
Welcome back to the show. I'm Michelle here with my friend Marshall, and this is always my favorite time is when we talk about toddler topics. And we just got back, Marshall, from the Rocking Horse Ranch. We went for 3 days, 2 nights. It's in Highland, New York. It was a beautiful time of year to go. I was so excited. It was our first vacation since my son's been born. And I thought so many great activities for my daughter. It's going to be so much fun. And also, should I mention, all food is included. And that means...
Did you say this is the Bunny Ranch?
It's called the Rocking Horse Ranch for kids. That's for you.
Oh, I see. For me, what kind of a person do you think I am?
Well, I don't know. That was on your top of mind when I said rocking horse ranch.
Right.
So anyway, she had a great time, super fun time, but so many things happened that I want to talk to you about today. Lack of structure, lack of nap time, therefore going a little crazy, but all good. But we'll chat about that. But one thing was that there was a buffet for breakfast and lunch. And then for dinner, it was a sit-down dinner, but then there was a buffet of desserts. So she just kept running up to that buffet table of desserts, and she saw marshmallows for the first time. And she saw some cookies and ice cream. And then we went to the neighboring orchard, which was just down the block. And of course, my husband always has to get his apple cider donuts. And so she saw the big thing of apple cider donuts and wanted a whole donut, which makes me cringe because I have worked so hard on raising her to eat healthy. My husband is not a good influence. It drives me crazy. And I just want to talk to you about that and see if you allow your daughter to eat the junk that she wants. Is she exposed to it? Do you just not expose her to it? Is she going to be exposed to it eventually anyway?
Well, like your husband in my family, I'm the bad influence when it comes to the junk food. But, yeah, we try to limit it, but I don't know. You know, she's small and she doesn't eat that much. And when she asks for ice cream, I usually give in. She's, you know, and I personally find that if you were to like give her favorite's ice cream sandwiches. So, and everybody's, right? Like those are amazing. So if you gave her a pile of ice cream sandwiches, I'm convinced halfway through the second one, she'd walk away.
Okay.
And so, like, the fight over the ice cream sandwich is like, maybe just give her the ice. I mean, we don't. We try to limit it. But I'm always tempted to, like, just like, you want a buffet of ice cream sandwiches? Go ahead.
Right.
But that's why I'm the bad influence.
I understand. And my husband too, you know, if she didn't see these foods, she wouldn't know that they exist and she wouldn't ask for them. And I had worked so hard to get her to eat so many healthy foods that she wouldn't necessarily want the sugary stuff. But now that she's been exposed to it and she sees daddy's eating a donut, well, I want to do like daddy does. And so then she wants a donut. And then when she sees ice cream, and the other day, I don't normally eat ice cream because I can't, but I eat frozen yogurt. And then the other day there was this ice cream, soft serve. And I told myself, you know what? I haven't had it in so long. I'm just going to have a little bit. And I put a little tiny bit on a cone. And I thought she wouldn't see. And then she saw and she wanted it right out of my hand. And then she wanted to switch. And because mine had a little more than hers that I ended up getting for her. And so it just comes to the point where, you know, do you want them to have a whole big breakdown and cry because you're not giving them what they want, or do you just give in and give it to them?
Well, we talked about something relating to this or similar to this a few weeks ago when we decided, like, do you enforce, like, bedtimes or nap times when you're on vacation? And we found that things did revert back. So right. I'm not sure, but I wonder, like, if you had a one cookie a day policy and that was the only sweets, and then you went away to the Rocking Rooster Ranch, and then
Rocking Horse Ranch,
and everything changed.
Right.
Like, you know, would you come back and like, is it really the danger? And then exposing them to stuff. I mean, if it's not really like a doable task to like keep them unexposed to things.
I know, and my husband's philosophy. I know it's not real. Like my husband's philosophy is that his parents limited his sugar intake for the first 4 years. So at 4 years old, when he discovered what it was, he went nuts and he hasn't turned back since. Right.
Yeah.
And he's still
That's why
binging.
Americans drink in college more than the Italians because they're introduced early to, or French. Yeah. Is this a good analogy? about the binge eating at 4 years old?
I don't know.
That's so interesting, by the way. So he thinks. Wait a minute. So I might lean toward his side. So wait a minute. So he says he was limited to all sugar. He felt deprived, and at 4 years old, he decided to just binge on it. Became a problem ever since. So that the way to head off that problem is to give him more sweets. Is that what he's saying?
Yeah, he's saying don't limit it and that they're going to be exposed to it eventually anyway. I don't buy it. He's almost 50. I think he can control what sweets he eats if he really wanted to. So the fact that he's still blaming it on his childhood at 4 years old, I personally don't buy it. And I also feel that when they are growing, now's the time that their fat cells are developing. And putting all that aside, forgetting the weight issue and any of that, what about the hyperactivity that sugar brings on and the lack of concentration if, say, they're in school? So I think there's so many other factors as to why sugar should be limited and why that should be taught early on.
So every morning before we go to school, she comes to me, she says, "Daddy, can I have a chocolate chip? Could I have another chocolate chip?"
Aww.
So I usually give her chocolate chips in the morning. Isn't that awful?
Are they dark chocolate?
Yeah, they're dark chocolate. So that's
Okay.
so then it's okay, right?
It's got some fiber. It's got some antioxidants. I think it's okay.
Well, that's great. It reminds me of the Bill Cosby thing where he serves his kids chocolate cake and his wife comes down and has a conniption. If I'm allowed to cite Bill Cosby and funny things, I don't know.
I know, but yeah. So anyway, it drives me nuts when she shoved the whole donut in her face at the apple orchard the other day. At first I don't. I gave her half. First, I gave her a quarter. No, I want more. Then I gave her half. Now I want more. Now I want to hold the thing. I said, no, you're not holding it because I know it comes out of holding it. Another one goes in the mouth.
Well, no, you made a point about your husband, at 50, you should be able to control yourself. Maybe his point is that if you teach them certain habits now, like eating the stuff in moderation, then you won't have an urge to binge later. I mean, we can all go on a deprivation diet, but some people actually find it easy to eat healthy, and some of us find it very difficult.
Yeah,
maybe he's right. Maybe either way, maybe it's important. I mean, you're both arguing for setting some standards early. He just believes, to give her Twizzlers for lunch, and you're not for that because you think that will have a bad long-term effect.
Right, exactly. Or even, forgetting that kind of sugar junk food, but even just other food that's just not so healthy. I just want it to be limited. I just don't want her to, when she has, say, a few foods in front of her to choose from, let's say there's grapes, let's say there's a donut, and let's say there's, I don't know, something else. I want her to gravitate towards the grapes instead of the donut, if that's possible.
Have you tried shock therapy or, something a little more radical? Because I don't know, a kid, it's like putting you put a donut in front of a dog, or
I know.
What? You put a donut? You want to put a donut or grapes in front, and you want the child to pick the grapes? What are you, crazy? That's not happening.
I know. And that's why, so on one hand, I'm upset by it. And then on the other hand, I just have to say, it is what it is. She's a child, just as long as she's healthy for the most part, most of the time. So when we came home yesterday, I made her kale pancakes for dinner, and it's kale, oatmeal, eggs, and banana. I'm like, here you go.
That was her punishment.
No, but she loves them. So I was like, all right, we're getting back on track.
Oh, well, then that's good. So did you get back on track? That was a point. Maybe it's okay to let them splurge on vacation if it's easy to get back on track.
I don't know. I think we get back on track, but she still in the back of her mind now has these things that she asks for and that she wants, like crackers and all these things that she never used to think about or want. I guess when she was younger and maybe wasn't as vocal, she really enjoyed all the vegetables I gave her and all the sweet potatoes.
I do believe, and maybe I do believe that these kids are hardwired to want sugar and fat because growing kids like are gonna gravitate toward high calorie foods because their body is telling them to get high calorie foods. Now that doesn't mean that Fun Dip is good for them, but
right.
There is something evolutionary about this. I mean, like every parent on the face of the earth, like kids like this stuff. Oh, one thing we're lucky about, I mean, she loves ice cream, but we've gone to some events with like a candy bar, where they have all the candy that you normally have to pay for by the pounds with the scoopers, and but it's all free.
Yeah.
She doesn't recognize that as edible yet.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, my daughter hasn't asked for that stuff either yet.
So cupcakes. She likes cupcakes, like a lot.
Yeah, so does mine. And she was introduced to them in daycare when the other moms started bringing them in. And I was like, and my request for, well, can you give her the snack I sent in instead of the cupcake? And then I felt really badly. And then I said to the teacher, I'm like, what if she really wants one? Just give it to her. And of course the teacher gave it to her.
I think it's all right. At the end of the day, our druthers would be that it would be a little healthier. But at the same time, that kind of a situation, you're probably doing your child worse by telling them that everybody else in the class can have a cupcake, but she can't.
Right.
There's probably something to your husband's point in that if you deprive a kid of something that they always look and see everybody else gets to have it, they're going to want it a lot more than if they just have access to it. So maybe some of these things we might just have to throw our hands up and just be like, you know what, you just have to give them unlimited M&Ms. It's just the way it has to be.
Yeah. I mean, I hate to say, I hate doing just because other people do, but at the same time, I agree with you. And that's kind of what I've been doing because I don't want her to feel left out. And I want her to feel that she is enjoying for the most part. So I guess that goes along with just overall structure when it comes to for them, especially as toddlers, because something else that we dealt with when we were away was sort of lack of structure in that we just gave up nap time. Like we talked about last time, do we really need to keep them on a schedule? And she wanted to do so much while we were there that we just chucked nap time away and we said, all right, forget it. And boy, did we pay for it later in the day. And pretty much after that nap time came and went, she was a wild child. And so we have a minute left in this segment, but I want to talk about it a little bit now and then more in the next segment. And I'm just curious.
Well, I wanted to say something else about the junk food is that it's an interesting point that because they see it, and you had this experience where there was a buffet there, so she saw the junk food, and now of course she's exposed to it, now she wants it more, and that's bad. But what about just the junk food that she's already exposed to in the house, and she just says, Daddy, I want a cookie. Daddy, I want a cookie. Daddy, I want a cookie. Do you give her the cookie when she requests the cookie, or do you say no? We're only having a quarter of a cookie a day, and that's it.
Right.
Or
I get on my husband and I'm like, please don't eat those things in front of her so that she doesn't see it. But obviously he wants to eat. So I think she has definitely picked up the whole snacking thing from him because he snacks like nobody's business. And I'm like, because now whenever she gets a snack, she says, I want to show daddy. I want to show daddy. So it's like, oh, daddy will be so happy for me because I have a snack like he has.
Maybe your issue is that your husband and you are not on the same page when it comes to snacks.
That is correct. That is definitely correct.
Maybe that's the entirety of the problem. And that if you were not undermining your authority on this, you'd have a smooth path toward healthy eating.
I agree. Marshall Stevenson, thanks so much for being here. I always love chatting with you. I'm Michelle. We're going to talk a little bit more coming up next, just about overall structure. And do you have to keep with it when you're away or just in general? More coming up in a few.
Motherhood is a journey. Joining you on your greatest adventure, here's Michelle Jerson, the Passport Mommy.
Here with Marshall Stevenson, and we're talking our toddler topics. And we were just talking about me being away at the Rocking Horse Ranch and the lack of structure and the exposure to some junk food, just in general, not just at the ranch, but with my husband. And, talking about structure also, it comes down to schooling and daycare. And I know that pretty much every single day, I debate in my mind whether I have my daughter in the best situation, in the best daycare setting. Should she be in daycare? Should she be in this classroom at 2 years old when she's only 2 years old and she has her entire life ahead of her to be in a classroom? And Marshall, your daughter just got into preschool early because her birthday's a little earlier.
It's actually 3K, so she's 2.5, and she's in public school already. And we recognize that, and I took care of her before that. She had one day a babysitter, one day a mother-in-law, so she has not been in any kind of like structured kind of environment. And now she's in a structured environment, and someone said to us, oh, no, they should be able to do whatever they want whenever they want it until 3.5. It just made me think. I mean, the entire culture says you should have a nap schedule, they should have meal times, and you should introduce this the earlier the better. And
yes.
We were like slacker than most people on this front. And then we go there, and it's like, now she's in school, so now she has a nap schedule, and now she has an eating schedule. But of course, in the same process you went through, you're always wondering where, if your kid's in the exact best place. It just was like, oh, maybe she should just be like in the middle of a grassy meadow all day, whatever she wants.
Well, it's funny. Somebody who used to be in our play group, I don't know if you remember the little boy, William, but he moved to Toronto, and his mom just IM'd me the other day and said that he's at a daycare and they basically take him outside all day in this big nature park. And that's all he does all day. And I'm thinking, wow, how nice. And here my daughter is cooped up in this room most of the day, and they go out to this little playground. And it made me think again. And it made me feel like I'm not doing the best thing for my daughter.
So here's what happened, which makes me think that it's good.
Okay.
Because we had a very good thing happen, I think. Teacher said, like, 4th day, let me ask you a question. Does she put her toys away at home? And I swear to God, I was like, I clean up after her at home. No. So they said, well, because we ask her to. We ask all the children to put away her toys, and she just walks away.
Yeah.
It's not like she says no or is defiant or unpleasant. She's very nice. She just walks away. It doesn't. Right. It just doesn't register that she now has to do something you asked her to do. And I was like, oh.
So it's a good thing.
Then we talked to her about it, and the next day they said she followed the directions.
Wow.
But wait a minute now. So that is a check mark in the box for structure.
Yes. I do think that it is important to have some structure at this age. I do think nap times are important. I do think certain structure and bedtime routines are important. That's why they stress so much. It's how important it is to have a bedtime routine. So there's predictability. So she knows it's time to unwind, it's time to go to sleep, because otherwise I think they would just be running all over the place, kind of like my daughter was without her nap when we were away. And I think they look to us for structure. I think at this age, they want structure. They just don't know to have it if we don't teach it to them.
Really? Like every night that you try to get her to go to bed and it takes you 2.5 hours to do that, you think that's like helps her in her development? And her ability to like act calmly as an adult, this fight that you have. I mean, we have it too. So I'm just challenging your point. I'm not disagreeing with it, but like,
yes,
what, like
I do. I still think she knows that when she comes home from school, we play a little bit. We do one activity, then we have dinner, then we do bath, then we do bedtime with cuddling and a book and whatever else. So I still think, even though it could be a little looser some nights, it's still a routine.
Yeah, I don't know. See, routine, I don't know. All I know is since we're not as routine-oriented, I'll say, and half the time I think it's just like, all right, you don't want to do this now? You want to do it in 10 minutes? And he goes, Daddy, may I do one more thing?
And so the way she asks it, I mean, my gosh, how can you say no to that? We have to run, but I would love to talk about this more another time, because also the way they ask, it's really hard for you to say no and to keep that structure. Marshall, thank you for joining me again. Hopefully we can continue this conversation next week or the week after, because there's a lot to it. And I think it's something that we all debate about in our minds, whether we're doing the right thing when it comes to structure and how to raise our children. I'm Michelle Jerson, the Passport Mommy. Have a great rest of your day.